It's time now to narrow our focus on the state of the nation, particularly when it comes to the political permutations ahead of 2027. In a shocking move, the APC National Chairman Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje resigned on what was now reported as health grounds. However, his resignation has sparked debates on the party's position, with the North Central region yearning to produce his successor. In the interim, in acting capacity, Dolori holds the saddle. Joining us on the program this morning to discuss this and other issues is Honorable Cletus Obun. Honorable, good morning and welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me once again on this ADBN show, Morning Express.
It was much after a long sabbatical, let me put it that way.
I'm on sabbatical, so I've resumed today. This is a season of resumptions.
Now, let's get straight into the conversation. Time, I'm afraid, is not our friend, but let's see how much we can maximize it. It came as a shock to a lot of persons, the resignation of Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje. I don't know if you saw it coming, or is it part of what the party is saying it needs to close ranks to be able to fortify its stance ahead of 2027?
Well, let me say that Ganduje's resignation will be surprising to many who are not insiders in the APC game, a political game, chessboard. For those of us who are close enough to him, we have known all along that he was looking for the slightest opportunity to go. He had
Why is this so?
He had never wanted to be national chairman. You should know that he never vied for that position. He was called upon to come into the party at the point where the party immediately after election needed to build trust, build confidence, and get respect, especially in the build-up to the formation of the government in terms of appointments and other such things. He needed a man who was respected and who would be respected by all shades of opinion and all the tendencies within the party, all the interest groups within the party, from the political parties that came together to the individuals who had won election or lost election and all that. The Abdullahi Adamu, His Excellency Abdullahi Adamu's tenure or reign, because of his role during the primaries, made him completely distrusted. And so it required somebody who was going to do that. And the president and the leadership of the party found in Abdullahi Ganduje the right person to do so. So he came in there more as a stabilizer, more as a moderator, more as a father figure. And that role he had to play. And you can see that there have been less of the kind of crisis that ordinarily would have come up, given that most people felt abandoned. Some even had to leave. Some people, it required a person of that maturity to be able to manage all those things, especially given that the president was having his hands full after the policies that jolted the entire country. To stabilize the economy, stabilize the polity, and then stabilize the party was going to be too much.
I must thank you for this insight, because there were a lot of controversial stories making the round, particularly following the endorsement of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu without his vice and the role of Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje in some of these discussions. It had nothing to do with this.
I think the people were overreaching themselves with their imagination. Imaginations were going over the roof, and speculations became the ultimate beneficiary of such things. And within the political game, like I keep saying, it is in the realm of every political actor to speculate, anticipate, and permutate. So those permutations must come, those speculations must come, the rumors must come. The issue of the vice presidency is becoming unnecessarily overbearing. It's becoming very, very overheated. It is completely unnecessary, because people are busy using, President Tinubu as governor changed about 2 or 3 deputies, so it is his tradition to do so. Are the circumstances the same? Is Lagos, Nigeria? Definitely we are into this. Vice president is one of the best we could get in terms of intellect, in terms of representation. And you can see the president giving him prominent roles to play, representing him in and out of the country at very great events. Sometimes even when there are major crises in places, Mokwa, which some people are accusing the president of not attending. The vice president, each time he attends an event, shows presence of the presidency. Presidency is not about Bola Tinubu. It's an entire gamut of a class of people that are ruling the country under the leadership of Mr. President. So that is the presidency. The era of saying that deputies and vice presidents are spare tires has gone, because you can see clearly that this vice president has been one of the most active in the history of Nigerian vice presidents and in the history of deputies.
So why do you think, despite his proactiveness, there's insinuations that the president might go for a different choice of vice? I listened to one of the narratives and they were talking about changes with the acting role Mr. Dalori is playing, the Northeast and the North Central yearning to fill the void now created by the outgone Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje.
Let me say this to you. All the permutations must have to be based on history, convention, tradition, and the constitution of the political parties. What does the constitution say? First of Nigeria, about federal character. The parties ingeniously impute it into their and insert it in their constitutions. So it is mandatory now, without being in the constitution, that once a vice president comes from southern Nigeria, a president comes from southern Nigeria, the vice president must come from the north. It also have been a tradition that once that happens, the chairmanship of the party does not come, because automatically the leadership of the party comes from the president. So that means that the running of the party must now go to the other zone, and that is why it goes to the north. Then the issues of the National Assembly, the two houses, where do the deputy, the speaker and the senate president and their deputies, how do they pan out? These are all things that have become a convention and a tradition in our system. So presently, the first 7 positions in Nigeria today will be the president, vice president, senate president, speaker, and their deputies. Then you have the secretary to governor of the federation. Then you have chief justice of the federation along that line. So if you look at it today, which of the zones will cry out? 1, the vice president from the northeast. 2, the senate president from the northwest. The speaker is from the northwest. North Center has the secretary to government of the federation. You might now ridicule that, but that does not mean the change in personnel. For instance, the resignation of Ganduje leaves North Center because the vice president is still maintaining the northeast. The acting person, Dalore, is only acting as a midwife to bring in a new executive chairman. That new chairman is going to come from either North Central or Northwest, depending on the argument and the permutations of the party. Because in all this, it has to show presence of party in an area. Because if you don't have anybody sitting on the table of decision making, that area feels that they're not part of that party. So on the table of leadership will be who and who can attend executive council meetings. All states have their ministers. Who would be at the party? National Working Committee. And that is why those positions are zoned to those areas. In the south, for example, in the National Working Committee, if you look at the north, I have given you the deputy chairman, not vice chairman. The 6 vice chairmen must come from the 6 geopolitical zones. The deputy chairman must come from the same zone as the same region as the chairman. The reason is that each time the chairman, by any reason, resignation, as in this case, death or removal, the deputy must come from that same area. So at no time will
so that there's balance.
There's a balance and maintenance of that status quo of insisting that the chairman must come from northern Nigeria once the president comes from the south. So deputy chairman takes over immediately, as in this case. If you had taken the deputy chairman to the south, the south will be keeping president and acting chairman, which was going to be generating unnecessary tension. So APC is structured in a manner that from the polling unit, and I've made the point clearly, this is the first political party since independence that has a polling unit executive of 10 members. That shows you that it is bottom-top approach for APC. It is the people that own democracy. And that is why it's so difficult for people to understand that. How does APC manage its affairs? The ward chairman, you have seen a ward chairman remove a national chairman in APC. You've seen that happen. If you didn't have a structured and intentional constitution to ensure that democracy belongs to the people, that wouldn't happen.
Now, Honorable, quickly, let's talk about candidates, because we don't have much time. Candidates to fill in this void. We've seen names like Almakura thrown into the conversation. The SGF issued a statement refuting any ties linking him to that. His Excellency Joshua Chibidare has also been tied to this position. Sani Musa as well. In your best knowledge, who are the likely candidates who have a stronger stake on this position from the North Central?
beyond the North Central, because you are tying me down to make it look as if the North Central has to take the position. I insist to you
that the party might choose differently.
Might choose differently and repeat the Northwest. What the party is looking at is, where will we cash the votes? Where will we make the least impact? Where are we not impactful? In the last election, let us take the 6 states of the North Central, including Abuja. What was our voting strength? We lost FCT and it became an issue about, well, it took the Supreme Court to remind us, yes, technicality and all that. So do we have to bring our chairman from North Central in order for us to show better presence? Presently, we have fight crises in places like Benue, where the governor and others, but they just got their reconciliation and their acts together. So again, will that make for better coordination for North Central? Otherwise, if we take it away from Northwest, where we have majority of our votes, how would the Northwest be? Is it enough to give them deputy Senate president and the Speaker of the House? Is that enough to keep our presence and then make the people believe in the party more and therefore give them votes? Those permutations must come to play. All that is going to be on the table. And the individual is also important. What's your pedigree? What have you shown in terms of organization? What have you shown in the past? Gandhi was speak from, like I said elsewhere, he was a reluctant chairman. He never wanted to be chairman. At least I spoke to him and I knew him to that point where we went to him to say, he said, no, I didn't ask for this. The party is asking me to do this. It's an assignment. I will do it whenever they feel that I have completed my assignment. And today, if he had waited till the eve of the congresses and the conventions, which are going to come in any moment from now, because the tenure is about to end, that would have generated more tension on him and pressure on him to say, you've done so well. Look at the defections. Look at the stability. Look at the progress we have made. You have given the president less work to do settling people. So the president is settling PDP in Port Harcourt. Not even APC members. No state in APC have been jacked off in a manner that this happened. When he went to Benue State, he did his best to ensure that the friction within and tensions within the SGF and the governor were sorted out quietly without escalating them. So if Ganduje had done that much, by the time you get to the convention, you say you have done so well, stay back. So he's preventing that as well. In any case, he knows his health and he has told us that is his problem. You can't deny him that. So actually the Northwest and the North Central are as good to go for the position. But the individual is important.
You're not giving us any names, but you have given us regions.
Yes,
we'll stick with
Northwest and North Central are good to go.
Now, the party has also fixed a date for its next meeting, 24th of July. Is it just the national chairman position that would be probably on the agenda, or would it also issue a statement in regards to the endorsements for a joint ticket come 2027?
Let me say this to you. I have been one of those who condemn the endorsements. Party cannot be endorsing their own members. You don't have a choice about that. The incumbent at all times has the right of first refusal. That is a tradition in all democracies, whether it is in the United States or in Nigeria. The right of first refusal belongs to the incumbent. Those endorsing are those who are not members of the party, but they are prominent figures within society. Some of them are political, some of them professionals. If a Dangote, for example, like Elon Musk, will do to those are people who are non-aligned. So when they come to do endorsement, what that means is credibility added to your party and to the individual who is being endorsed. You, minister, you, chairman of party, you are endorsing your candidate. That what else should you have done? So I find that very curious. I find it a waste of time, because you can do nothing about it. A commissioner will come to a state and say he's endorsing his governor. What will you have done? You say you don't agree, you leave the party. That is the only next thing you can say. So all you can do is vote of confidence that our manifesto has been properly executed, and we want to thank you for doing that. We have confidence that you continue to execute our manifesto to the letter. That is all you can do. Vote of confidence, never endorsement, never.
Political lexicon. Abubakar Dangiwa almost shared the same sentiments, much like you're reiterating, but he added an advice to it, speaking to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu when he received his national honor. He wants the president to be aware of sycophants who are going above and beyond, forgetting his right of first refusal.
I am of that school.
Do you feel that there are sycophants in this?
This is completely overreaching. This is completely sycophantic. This is completely a waste of time. I have worked with Bola Tinubu, the present president, as leader of it since April of 2006, from AC, when he brought AD to join ACD. I was in the meeting at Amso Hotel in Zone 6 in this Abuja. And I know clearly that he, like somebody had tried to say, one party says, I have told them that this president will sponsor opposition against himself, because that is the basic ingredient. That is the glue with which democracy is gummed together. Without opposition, you are not running. You are running a one party says an autocracy. It is not a democracy. Clearly, and this president is not one of them. You have seen the fights he had put up just to keep opposition until he got to this place. He didn't get here by accident. It was by dint of hard work and the luck that God provided, providence provided on him for all that he has put, seeing the sincerity of purpose that he has put into putting democracy together and sustaining it for the last 26 years. He stayed in opposition. He never sought office after he left on the 2nd of July and handed over to Fashola in Lagos in what they call the Night of Glamour. I was there on the 2nd of July, 2007. I was there when he was doing the handover. We celebrated with him. And thereafter, he took charge of the entire process. Even when the government of national unity came, Ifo was not a Democrat. He was for government of national unity with Yaradua. But when the 24th state chairman, led by me, my humble self, opposed it, that was a drift to one party state, that you cannot put ministers and expect to still oppose that government, that to be drift to one party. He submitted to us. Then Oshomole was just coming in as governor of Edo State. He was in that meeting. He was still in the tribunal. He was in that meeting in Zone 6. And we all agreed that government of national unity is not an option for ACN. And that we had, being a progressive party, going to join PDP was going to be a contradiction. And therefore it means that we are pretending and we are not Democrat and progressives. And they agreed with us. And he, who had the powers at that point, Atiku was our candidate for that election. And we're in the tribunal at that point. If he didn't agree with us, we would have joined government of national unity, and most of our members would not have been here, and we wouldn't have been able to sustain this tempo that we had that has kept APC to where it is, to bring about the coalition that later became the merger, which was started in 2011. It was not in 2013. It was 2011, but because there was no time to meet up with the 2011 election, it was shifted. Place in 2013. We started from 20. We started the process again. By 2020, our legal team had perfected it, and it didn't take us 30 days for us to fulfill it. And the constitution requires that once you have met the condition, whether INEC gives you the go ahead or not, you are pronounced a political party, and that's what we did.
Now, history seems to be repeating itself. There are yearnings for mergers, coalitions, 110 applications on the desk of INEC. Yesterday, ADC was officially adopted by the opposition. Whilst this is going on, we're also seeing defections into the APC. Let's get your projections on how things pan out, because it almost seems as though, as it stands, there's no party, particularly that is a formidable opposition for the APC. But together, do they stand a chance?
The togetherness is the issue here. We would like to see them come together, but it's also part of our duty to make sure they don't come together. It's part of our duty, just like it is their duty to make sure that APC does not stand together. It is part of the duty of all political parties on earth, anywhere globally. It's part of your duty. I have made this point and some people try to misinterpret me. It is a duty of, we are going into a boxing ring. This is a combat sport, but more of an intellectual combat sport. That's why it is called a game. You win, I win. Your players defect or your players are bought over on transfer or on loan. You get all that happening. That's what you are seeing here. So if they now come together and then they now say they are now forming a new football club called ADC, they have decamped to ADC. That's decampment. They are not in, when they say they adopt, there's an existing party. They should stop pretending and using political lexicon carelessly and making it look as if they are saying anything new. They have joined ADC. They should be humble enough to accept that there are people displaced from power, PDP, people displaced from power. They are now into ADC. Let us see what that will be. I hope they don't go there and displace themselves again, and then when they are dispossessed, they turn around to look for who to blame. It is their duty to be strong or to be weak, and then we go beat them as usual in the next coming round. Definitely what they are doing now is not for 2027 because it's too late. It is too late for anybody to form any.
In terms of the presidential elections,
yes. But how they pan out in the states, it's a matter of their own kind of calculations and their kind of belief.
Honorable, we have less than 2 minutes, and it's important to get your thoughts on this before we close. Particularly yes. The APC with the massive wave of defections. People are calling it Hurricane Tinubu. How does the APC manage interest after 2027? Because we have persons who were vying for governorship seats, but are also seeing sitting governors decamping into the party. How does the party manage this?
Again, this is something that we have seen before. And APC has to be very careful about implosion. For instance, you bring a governor into a party, a former governor is sitting in that state, a senate president is sitting in that state, and then you turn around and tell the governorship candidate or a former deputy senate president, as in the case of Delta State, and say to him that his new leader is a governor. A situation in which you make emperors out of governors. It's dangerous. Yes, the governor should be the pivot upon which the party is built around. But he should also consider the fact that somebody was sitting here and this person being senior to me, I defer to him. It's a sign of humility. It's a sign of cooperation. That imperial attitude will bring about implosion. I've seen that happen elsewhere. And I've said to you, I have run party. I've run opposition in Cross River State for more than 20 years. I single-handedly did that before everybody started busting into the arena. I can tell you that it is more difficult to manage internal crisis, intra-party crisis, and to manage external crisis. The reason is because those within cannot be taken out, and once they revolt, that revolt turns out into electoral defeat, and that will be APC defeating APC. That is what happened in most of the places.
And the phrase has been going around citing what happened to the then President Goodluck Jonathan, despite having a majority of governors. 2015 didn't really work out for him. Is this part of the wake-up call?
That is my fear. That is what I'm saying, that we must have to learn from that banana peel. That banana peel of PDP. We may run into it without knowing it. And I warn that APC must have to take care of its foundation members. They have constantly been complaining across the country. I'm speaking to them. They are in a mess. And it is not a responsible attitude that you discard your own foundation in order to get the pillars and the beams of a building on. You'll be building on a false foundation. And you know that these foundation members have a way of acting and reacting. And that is very important. Otherwise, implosion will happen to APC. But what I crave for, and I believe that this president and the next chairman of party will recognize that fact. In first, the party structures in the states, foundation members must not be neglected. 2, the chapter chairman. 3, the National Executive Committee must be composed, and it should be deliberate. It shouldn't be accidental and telling us that this person is more vibrant. A man who is vibrant, what is the osmotic theory? It's not the weaker solution that is absorbed by the stronger solution. So if you join the APC, if you were strong, go and form a new party. Let's see you work and act there and win elections there. But if you came here, means you are decimated. You have been absorbed. So you should be humble enough to take a back seat and watch and see what is happening there. So I feel that this idea of thinking that the person coming in is coming with greater wealth is adding number. Yes, politics, democracy is about number, but that number should not overwhelm and absorb those who absorbed him. That's
strong thoughts from Honorable Cletus Obun this morning. I'm afraid time is not our friends, but I'd look to get his commitment ahead of the NEC meeting by July 24. We should have a second part to this conversation and follow up with the outcomes of that NEC meeting.
I'll be available, definitely. I'll be available. I would like to give enough ventilation to this political thought that I hold, especially given my experience in party organization and in political science. I need to have to put onto Nigerians that wealth of experience that I have, and I think that we need to do that for the purpose of our democracy and to sustain it and to be able to make it more viable, more vibrant. And I insist that the president and us in APC must encourage those who are striking, at least trying to show us that there is somebody waiting by the door, so that we don't go to sleep and become overwhelmed by our own successes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Cletus Obun.